12 perfect houseplants to grow in May. Bring life to your home garden now. Hello, dear friends of Earthly Delights. If you've clicked on this video, I already know a little something about you. You're someone who craves calm in a noisy world. Someone who finds comfort in morning light dancing on green leaves. You might be a longtime plant nurturer, someone with soil under their nails and stories in their pots. Or maybe you're just starting out, wondering if bringing one small plant into your home could change how it feels, how you feel. You value peace, beauty, and the quiet joy of watching life unfold leaf by leaf. And in this digital age of hustle and distraction, you've chosen something radical. You've chosen to slow down, to care, to grow. In today's video, I'll walk you through 12 perfect houseplants to grow this May. Plants that don't just survive indoors, but thrive with you, for you, because of you. So whether you live in a tiny apartment or a sun-filled cottage, this list is designed to inspire you, to reconnect you to nature, right where you are. And if you find yourself nodding along already, go ahead, tap that subscribe button and join our Earthly Delights family. Because here, we don't just grow plants, we grow peace, purpose, and a little more green in our everyday lives. 1. Pothos, the generous spirit of growth. Let's begin with a plant that's as forgiving as it is beautiful. One that meets you where you are, no matter your space, no matter your skill level. Pothos. Now, I call it the generous spirit for a reason. This plant doesn't just grow, it gives. Freely, happily, relentlessly. If you've ever doubted your green thumb, Pothos is the plant that will change your mind. Its heart-shaped leaves, sometimes deep jade, sometimes marbled with gold or cream, cascade like green ribbons from shelves, cabinets, and windowsills. It adapts to what you give it. A little sun? It stretches toward it. Low light? It slows down, but still survives. Forgot to water? It waits, still rooting for you, always. And in May, as the sun grows stronger and the days stretch longer, this plant responds in kind. New leaves unfurl with enthusiasm. Vines spill over their pots with confidence. It's like the plant knows it's time to grow again. For those of you juggling work, kids, or the constant ping of notifications, Pothos is a gentle nudge to reconnect, to unplug. It reminds you that growth doesn't have to be complicated, it just needs care. What I love most is how easily this plant can be shared. Snip a healthy vine, drop it in water, and soon you'll see tiny roots reaching out, eager to start again. It's a living metaphor for generosity. What you give grows. So if your home feels like it's missing something soft, flowing, and alive, let this be your beginning. Start with Pothos. Start simple. Start now. And next, we'll shift into something that speaks to a deeper kind of energy, still quiet, still strong, but rooted in healing. A plant that blooms even in the shadows. Stay with me, because the peace lily is coming next. 2. Peace lily, the soothing bloom. After the generous, free-flowing spirit of Pothos, let's take a breath. Let's step into a quieter room, one filled with stillness, softness, and a kind of grace that doesn't need to announce itself. This is where the peace lily lives. There's something about this plant that shifts the energy of a space the moment you place it down. Maybe it's the way its deep green leaves rise gently from the soil like waves. Or maybe it's that single white bloom, elegant, serene, almost like a flag of surrender to the moment. Whatever it is, the peace lily speaks not to the eyes, but to the soul. If you're the kind of person who feels things deeply, who senses the emotional undercurrents in a room, who craves peace but is often caught in the whirl of caring for others, then this plant is a mirror, a gentle reminder, a little green whisper saying, slow down, breathe. And May is a perfect time to invite this energy into your home. The longer days and warmer air wake up the peace lily just enough. Not with speed, but with intention. You'll notice new leaves unfurling, maybe even a bloom rising like a soft promise from the soil. It thrives in medium to low light, which makes it ideal for bedrooms, offices, even those cozy corners where the sun only stops by briefly. And what's so endearing is how clearly it communicates with you when it needs water. The leaves droop dramatically, almost theatrically, but give it a drink, and just hours later, It stands tall again, resilient, grateful, alive. For those of you who've been carrying too much. For those who long for a sense of balance. A rhythm that's more aligned with your heart than your calendar. The peace lily is not just a plant. It's an invitation. To rest. To restore. To remember that your home can hold peace, if you let it. Coming up next, we're stepping into something a bit more modern. More structured. A plant that stands firm even when life gets messy. Stick with me. We're about to meet the sleek and steady rubber plant. 3. Rubber plant, structure and sophistication. Now that we've wandered through the calming energy of the peace lily, it's time to shift into something a little more grounded. Something modern, minimal, and quietly confident. Enter the rubber plant. If the peace lily was a deep breath, the rubber plant is a steady heartbeat. Strong, stylish, and incredibly reliable. This is the plant for those of you who love clarity. Who crave simplicity. Who want beauty that doesn't ask for attention but still commands it. Its broad, glossy leaves, dark green, sometimes with hints of burgundy or even deep plum, feel like pieces of sculpture. Not flashy, not wild, just effortlessly elegant, and in a world full of noise, there's something powerful about that kind of presence. Maybe you've got a busy schedule. Maybe your space is already full of movement, color, and sound, and you want one thing that just holds its ground. The rubber plant is that thing. And here's the beauty of May. This is the month where the rubber plant starts stretching again. You'll see new leaves begin to unfurl, tightly rolled like little scrolls of potential. One by one, they open, revealing that waxy sheen, a quiet celebration of growth done right. It loves bright, indirect light, but it's not dramatic if you place it in a slightly dimmer spot. It asks only for balance. Let the top couple inches of soil dry out before watering again. And that's pretty much it. And if you take just a moment to wipe its leaves every now and then, you'll not only help it breathe better, you'll be treating yourself to a moment of connection. A small, grounding ritual in your week. For those of you creating a calm, intentional home, for those who appreciate strength, but don't want chaos, the rubber plant is your quiet ally. It won't outgrow the room. It won't demand your time. It simply shows up, and sometimes, that's exactly the kind of energy we need. Next, we'll flow from this quiet strength into a bit of lush nostalgia. A plant that feels like a walk through an ancient garden. Stay close, we're bringing in the soft, verdant charm of the Boston fern. 4. Boston fern, the lush classic making a comeback. After the sleek confidence of the rubber plant, let's take a turn down a gentler, more nostalgic path. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine a shaded porch, a hanging basket swaying gently in the breeze, and the soft rustle of green fronds brushing against each other like whispers. That's the spirit of the Boston fern. This plant is like an old soul in your indoor garden, timeless, calming, and full of quiet charm. It doesn't shout for attention. It just is, beautifully, abundantly so. And for those of you watching who feel most alive in the presence of nature, who long for a forest trail, a mossy rock, the scent of earth after rain, this plant might feel like home. In May, as the humidity begins to rise and daylight lingers longer into the evening, the Boston fern wakes up with purpose. It begins to fill out, arch, and drape over its pot like it's stretching after a long winter's nap. This is when its true magic comes alive. The kind of lush fullness that softens any room it lives in. Now, it does appreciate a bit more attention than the average houseplant. It thrives in filtered light, a bit of humidity, and soil that stays lightly moist. But don't let that intimidate you. Think of it not as high maintenance, but high relationship. Because the more you tune into its rhythms, mist it gently, place it near a bathroom, or let it sit on a humidity tray, the more it gives back. And it gives so much. Texture, freshness, a little wildness that most indoor plants simply can't offer. I often recommend the Boston fern for those of you who feel emotionally connected to your plants. Who see them not just as decor, but as companions. It's the kind of plant that thrives in response to care, and in turn, becomes a soft, living reminder of how tending to life gives life. So, if your space feels too structured, too still, or just too modern, maybe it's time to let something a little more untamed in. Let the Boston Fern rewild your windowsill, even just a little. And up next, we're bringing in a splash of color. A plant that celebrates change, reinvention, and the beauty of being perfectly imperfect. Get ready to meet the resilient, radiant Chinese evergreen. 5. Chinese evergreen, the effortless pop of color. From the forest-like hush of the Boston Fern, let's open the curtains and let a little color in. Because sometimes, all it takes is one bold plant to make a space feel alive again. Let me introduce you to the Chinese evergreen. A plant that doesn't just grow, it glows. With leaves splashed in pinks, silvers, reds, or creamy greens, this beauty brings a kind of effortless vibrancy that can wake up even the sleepiest corner of your home. It's like the stylish friend who walks into a room and somehow makes everyone smile without saying a word. But here's what makes the Chinese evergreen even more special. Beneath all that flair is a heart of steel. It's strong, adaptable, and incredibly forgiving, perfect for those of you who want beauty without the stress. And May? May is when this plant begins to show off. As the light grows softer but stronger, you'll see new leaves unfurling, each one with its own unique pattern, no two quite the same. It feels a bit like watching nature play dress up. This plant doesn't need direct sunlight. In fact, it prefers a bit of distance from the window, which makes it ideal for those spaces in your home that feel underloved. The hallway, the home office, the reading nook you've been meaning to revamp. It steps in quietly and makes it beautiful. Watering? Simple. Wait until the top inch or two of soil is dry, and you're good to go. It won't panic if you miss a day. It won't wilt out of drama. It just keeps showing up, quietly dazzling. If you're someone who's felt a little stuck lately, if your space feels gray, or your days feel routine, the Chinese evergreen is like a little note from nature that says, change is good, color is welcome, you're allowed to bloom differently. Coming up next, we'll welcome a plant that multiplies like joy, dances with gravity, and never lets you forget that life, even in a pot, is meant to move. Let's meet the spider plant. 6. Spider plant, the cheerful multiplying companion. Now that we've soaked in the radiant color of the Chinese evergreen, let's bring in a little playfulness, a little motion. A plant that doesn't just grow, it dances. Say hello to the spider plant. If there's a plant that knows how to spread happiness, it's this one, with its long, arching leaves striped in green and cream, and tiny baby plants, called spiderets, dangling like stars on a mobile. The spider plant brings movement and joy into any space. This plant feels like it's always in celebration mode. It doesn't just sit quietly, it reaches, it tumbles, it multiplies. And in May, when everything is reawakening, this plant practically bursts with life. New shoots appear almost overnight, and before you know it, you've got a cascade of little green comets reaching toward the earth. It's perfect for those of you who love to nurture, who feel a sense of joy in checking on your plants each morning, in noticing the tiny changes, the first curl of a new shoot, the surprise of a new baby. This plant rewards attention with abundance. Place it in bright, indirect light, maybe near a kitchen window or on a plant shelf, and watch it flourish. It doesn't mind if you forget a watering or two. It forgives, it rebounds, and it keeps growing anyway. What's more, it's one of the most pet-friendly plants you can bring into your home. So if your furry companions like to explore, sniff, or play, you can rest easy knowing this one won't harm them. And here's a secret: spider plants love to share. Snip off a baby, place it in a jar of water, and in just a few weeks, you'll see roots form. Another plant, ready to be gifted or replanted. It's the ultimate reminder that growth is meant to be passed on. If you've ever felt that nurturing spark inside you, the desire to care, to connect, to give life and beauty to the spaces and people around you, the spider plant is your kindred spirit. Coming up next, we'll take all that joyful energy and root it in something even deeper. A plant that says, you don't need to do much. I'll still thrive. It's calm, it's tough, it's beautifully unbothered. Let's meet the ZZ plant. 7. ZZ plant, the low-light warrior. After the cheerful tangle of the spider plant, let's exhale into stillness. Let's meet a plant that doesn't chase the spotlight, but thrives in the quiet corners. The ZZ plant, Its full name is Zamioculcas zimifolia. But let's be honest, most of us just call it the ZZ. And once you have one, it's hard not to fall in love with its steady, sculptural presence. This is the plant for those of you who crave peace but live busy lives. Who love greenery but don't always remember when you last watered your plants? Who want something beautiful that doesn't need babysitting? The ZZ plant shows up anyway. Its waxy, deep green leaves rise up from thick stems like polished feathers. They reflect the light in a way that makes them seem almost too perfect to be real. And yet, they are completely real and completely ready to thrive with you. May is an especially good time to bring a ZZ into your home. The warming air encourages subtle new growth, small shoots that push up gently from the base. Like promises of steady progress. You won't see dramatic leaps, but you will see quiet resilience. And sometimes, that's the kind of growth we need the most. This plant loves low to medium light and does best when left alone. Water only when the soil is fully dry. In fact, overwatering is the only real way to disappoint a ZZ plant. It stores water in its rhizomes, those little potato-like bulbs under the soil, which means it's equipped for drought, for forgetfulness, for real life. And here's the deeper beauty of the ZZ. It reminds us that strength doesn't have to shout. That progress can happen in silence. That just because something grows slowly, doesn't mean it isn't growing powerfully. For those of you watching who feel like you're constantly pouring from your own cup, who want a plant that holds its own space while allowing you to breathe, this is your match. 8. Calathea orbifolia, the living breather. We've just spent time with the ZZ plant, a steady, sculptural reminder that quiet growth is still growth. Now, we enter a more sensitive space, a softer rhythm, a plant that doesn't just sit in the light, it responds to it. Let's meet the Calathea orbifolia. If you've ever wanted a plant that felt alive, truly aware of its surroundings, this one will steal your heart. With its wide, silvery striped leaves and gentle, waving motion throughout the day, the Calathea doesn't just grow, it moves with you. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical way. This plant actually shifts its leaves in response to light. Morning to night, it opens and closes, like it's breathing alongside you. It's subtle, but once you notice it, it becomes impossible not to feel connected. For those of you who are sensitive to energy, who notice how light filters through your windows, who feel calmer in spaces filled with texture and intentionality, this plant will feel like it was made for you. May is a gentle month for the Calathea. The days are longer, the humidity slowly rises, and the air starts to feel softer. All of this invites the plant to unfurl new leaves, each one arriving with the delicacy of a page turning in a favorite book. It thrives in bright, indirect light, no harsh rays, and truly loves humidity. So if you're the kind of person who enjoys misting your plants in the morning like a ritual, or if you've got a humidifier running in your self-care corner, this plant will reward you with grace and vitality. But a word of honesty, Calathea are particular. They prefer filtered or distilled water. And they'll show you, through a curl or brown edge, if something isn't quite right. But that's the gift too. They teach you to pay attention, to listen, to care deeply and consistently. The Calathea orbifolia isn't just a plant, it's a practice. A quiet companion for those who are learning to move more gently through life. To pause, to breathe, to align. And next, we're moving from calm to bold. From gentle waves to split leaves and wild expansion. Because coming up is the Monstera Deliciosa. And trust me, you're going to want to make space for this one. 9. Monstera Deliciosa, the dramatic grower. From the delicate movements of the Calathea, we now step into something bolder, larger, wilder, a plant that doesn't just fill a space, it transforms it. Welcome to the world of the Monstera Deliciosa. If you've ever dreamt of living in a jungle, of bringing a little untamed beauty into your structured world, this plant is your dream realized in leaf form. Its massive, heart-shaped leaves, punctuated with dramatic holes and cuts called fenestrations, aren't just eye-catching. They're iconic. You've seen them on posters, in coffee shops, on throw pillows. But once you bring a Monstera into your home, you'll understand why people fall in love with it beyond the aesthetics. Because this plant doesn't stay quiet. It grows. And in May, With warmth returning and sunlight stretching into the evening, the Monstera leaps into action. New leaves appear rolled tight like scrolls of green promise. And within days, they unfurl into wide fans of wild, architectural beauty. For those of you who are ready for more than just decoration. For something that mirrors your desire to expand, to evolve, to step fully into your next chapter. This plant is a living metaphor. And here's the good news. Despite its dramatic presence, the Monstera is surprisingly easy to care for. It loves bright, indirect light, but it won't sulk if it gets a little less water when the top inch or two of soil is dry. And be sure the pot has good drainage, it doesn't like wet feet. Give it a moss pole and it'll climb. Give it space and it'll sprawl. Wherever you place it, it becomes the heart of the room. I often recommend the Monstera to those of you who are starting something new. A new home, a new project, a new mindset, because watching it grow, boldly and unapologetically, reminds you to do the same. And now, as we shift gears again, we'll move from bold to small, from expansive drama to compact delight. Up next, the lemon button fern. Tiny, fragrant, and full of lightness. 10. Lemon button fern, the mini mood lifter. After the dramatic stretch and sprawl of the Monstera, let's return to something more compact, but just as powerful in its own way. Something soft, cheerful, and quietly refreshing. Let me introduce you to the lemon button fern. This little fern might not command attention with size, but what it lacks in height, it makes up for in charm. Its delicate, rounded fronds look like tiny green buttons strung together along a fine, waving stem, and if you lean in close, really close, you might catch a faint, citrusy scent when you brush its leaves. Yes, it smells just a little bit like lemon. And that's what makes this plant so special. It's not just cute, it lifts the space it's in. It brings with it a sense of freshness, of gentle joy. Like the first breeze through an open window in spring. For those of you who love details, who find happiness in little things, in the texture of a leaf, the surprise of new growth, or the way a small plant lights up a countertop, this fern was made for you. May is the perfect season for the lemon button fern. The warmer days and increased humidity encourage new fronds to unfurl almost constantly. And its compact size makes it perfect for kitchen counters, windowsills, bathroom shelves, or tucked beside your favorite reading nook. It prefers indirect light, evenly moist soil, and just a little attention now and then. Nothing too fussy. Just a gentle mist or a light drink when the surface feels dry. And if you give it what it loves, it rewards you with a lush, feathery crown that makes every corner feel just a little more magical. For fans of the cottagecore aesthetic, or anyone who wants to create a cozy indoor retreat with hints of nature's softness, the lemon button fern fits right in. It's humble, but never dull, small, but never insignificant, and maybe that's its lesson. That you don't have to be bold to be bright. That quiet beauty is just as meaningful as dramatic flair. Up next, we'll trail once again into something a bit wilder. A plant full of heart, literally, and perfectly suited for shelves, hanging baskets, and the dreamers among us. Get ready to meet the tropical elegance of the Philodendron Brasil. 11. Philodendron Brasil, the tropical heartstring. From the delicate joy of the lemon button fern, we now return to movement. But this time, with a tropical twist and a touch of artistry. Let me introduce you to the Philodendron Brasil. This isn't just another trailing plant. It's a love letter to color, texture, and the gentle rhythm of growth. With heart-shaped leaves painted in bold strokes of deep green and golden lime. The Philodendron Brasil brings a soft vibrancy that never feels overwhelming, just warm. It's for those of you who see your space not just as a place to live, but as an extension of your soul. A canvas of comfort, creativity, and quiet joy. This plant doesn't stay put. Its vines trail gently from shelves, cascade from hanging baskets, or climb if you offer it a bit of guidance. And in May, with longer days and that steady rise in warmth, it kicks into gear, pushing out new growth like little green notes in a melody. One of the reasons I adore this plant is how well it plays with others. It doesn't demand the spotlight, but it always adds harmony to a room. It softens edges, fills empty air, and invites your gaze to follow its lines, as if leading you somewhere. Slowly, peacefully, bright, indirect light will keep its variegation strong and vibrant. But it will tolerate lower light too, just a bit more subdued. And as for care, it's wonderfully simple. Let the top inch of soil dry out before watering, and watch it thank you with unfurling leaves. There's a quiet romance to this plant. It doesn't rush, it reaches. And if you ever feel like you're in a season of slow rebuilding, of following your own path at your own pace, the Philodendron Brasil will feel like a friend walking beside you. It's also incredibly easy to propagate. One snip, a small jar of water, and roots begin to form like magic. A gift you can share, a story that keeps growing. And now, we've reached the final chapter in our plant journey. One last bloom, one final burst of boldness. A plant that embodies confidence, color, and the courage to bloom exactly where you are. 12. Anthurium, the bold bloom of joy. And now, here we are. The final chapter in our journey through May's most magical houseplants. And we're ending with a flourish, a burst of color, a bold expression of joy. Meet the Anthurium, with its glossy, heart-shaped leaves and vibrant, waxy blooms that can range from deep reds to soft pinks and creamy whites. The Anthurium is more than just a houseplant, it's a statement. It brings presence, energy, and a quiet kind of confidence to any room it inhabits. If all the plants we've explored so far have taught us about gentleness, resilience, or growth in silence, then this one teaches us something else. To celebrate yourself, to stand tall, to bloom proudly, right where you are. This is the perfect plant for those of you stepping into something new. A new space, a new identity, a new season of self. In May, the Anthurium truly comes to life. It starts sending out those striking spathes, those long-lasting flowers that aren't really petals but modified leaves. Each bloom lasts for weeks, even months, a slow, bold, and unapologetic celebration of life. It thrives in bright, indirect light and likes its soil to stay lightly moist, but not soggy. And like many tropicals, it appreciates a bit of humidity. So whether it's near a kitchen window, a bathroom shelf, or nestled in your bedroom sanctuary, it brings with it a sense of passion and elegance. What I love most about the Anthurium is that it never tries to blend in. It doesn't fade into the background. It reminds you that beauty can be bold, and that growth can be loud, proud, and full of color. For anyone watching who's been holding themselves back, who's been dimming their light, questioning their voice, or shrinking their bloom, this plant is your permission slip. To bloom brightly, to take up space, to be your own kind of beautiful. And just like that, we've come full circle. 12 houseplants, 12 living companions for your May indoor garden. But before we wrap up, I have one final message. A seed I want to plant in your heart before you go. Growing with intention, one leaf at a time. And just like that, we've walked together through a greenhouse of moments. 12 houseplants, each with their own personality, rhythm, and gift. But if you've made it this far, I want to say something that goes beyond care tips and soil conditions. Because this video wasn't just about which plants grow best in May. It was about you, about who you are becoming in this season of light. Maybe you saw yourself in the trailing joy of the pothos, or in the soothing stillness of the peace lily. Maybe the rubber plant reminded you of your quiet strength, or the Calathea moved with your sensitivity. Whatever spoke to you, whatever made you pause and think, yes, that's the one. Know that you weren't just picking a plant. You were choosing a reflection of your own growth. Because plants don't rush. They don't bloom on demand. They respond to light, to care, to consistency. And so do we. Whether you're a longtime plant parent or just now dipping your toes into the soil. I hope this journey reminded you that tending to life, any life, is an act of hope. And every time you water, prune, repot, or simply notice a new leaf, you're also tending to a part of yourself. So, from our Earthly Delights family to yours, thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for growing with me, one leaf, one root, one quiet moment at a time. If this video brought you joy, insight, or a little peace, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs a little more green in their life. And now I'd love to hear from you. Which plant are you bringing home this May? Drop it in the comments below and let's continue the conversation. Until next time, stay grounded, stay green, and keep growing, inside and out.